Family mode.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, and thanks for being on the call. Again, this is your time to pick my brain as well as the brain of everybody else on the call today. And if you've got things to share, things that have gone well, things that have gone poorly, now is the time to tell us. But before we get into that, I'd like you to, we're going to be talking about setting the tone today. So if you can, if you would go log on to your membership site, go to the green navigation bar, go to the agreement meeting on that navigation bar, and if you would print I think it would help you if you would print the setting the tone script. So go to the agreement meeting, then go to setting the tone, and then you'll see both an audio and a script there. Print that script so you can make notes on what we talked about today. This is a very important script. This is one of the 2 10-minute scripts that we want you to memorize. So we're going to spend an hour on that today. And actually, I've actually spent 4 or 5 hours with advisor clients of mine, helping them learn this script. So we can spend a ton of time on this 10-minute script, because if you understand it, it's going to be extremely powerful for you to see your income go up exponentially. So if you can, go to your member site, go to the green navigation bar, get into the agreement meeting, and in the agreement meeting, get into setting the tone, and then choose the script and print that here in the next 5 minutes or so while we're talking about some other things. And I think you're going to be able to make some notes and get a lot more out of it if you're able to read it word for word while we're doing it, because this is one of the scripts that we want you to read word for word. And again, it's one of the most important things that we do with our system here. So now while you're doing that, I'm going to keep talking about some other things while you're pursuing that. Again, if you've got questions, go ahead and type them into the question box, or raise your hand, and we'll turn on your line so that we can ask those questions. Or if you've got things that have gone well, please do the same. So we'd like to hear about things that are going well or things that are going poorly. So, Missy, are we getting any hands raised or questions?
No hands as of yet. And
okay.
Let's see, Michael is addressing us in the question box here. So let me just see if there's any. I think he's just saying good morning. Thanks, Michael.
Well, good morning, Michael. So one of the things I did want to cover, though, is that earlier on, and I think I've touched base with a lot of you guys, that the most important marketing call that we have of the year was done here about a month ago, and it was to develop a 5Q USP statement. And in the last week, I've actually had 3 people contact me and tell me how it worked. One of the gentlemen had said that he was a wealth manager, and he was at a meeting with about 5 people that had been set up by a buddy of his for lunch, and they all asked him what he did. He used his 5Q USP. He had 3 of them. I mean, all of them wanted to know more about it. I mean, all 5 wanted to know more about it, and actually 3 set up appointments for him to see him afterwards. So he told me that in his, what did he say, like 10 years of being a wealth manager, that had never happened to him before. Never happened to him before, where he said he's been at meeting after meeting after meeting, and they'd always say, what do you do? And he would say, he's a wealth manager, and go into some of the money management platforms he used and all that, and nobody ever wanted more information. He used the 5Q. He said, geez, Mike, I got better benefits from that in one meeting than I've had in 10 years as a wealth manager doing any other types of things. I had talked to another guy who told me that, Mike, this whole USP stuff is so BS. I've been told for the last 20 years I've been in the business. This is a different guy. I've been in the business for 20 years, and I've been told that get a USP, get a USP, get a USP. And I'd get a USP, and guess what? It never freaking worked. I mean, it never helped me. Never did. And I explained to him again the fact that I agree. USPs don't work if you have a crappy USP. But if they do work, they work unbelievably well. If the elevator speeches work unbelievably well, if you have a good one. But I have seen referral system after referral system after referral system. I've been doing this since 1987 in this business. And I look at every single referral system that comes out. And all of the referral systems always have all sorts of ways for you to ask for the referrals. Ask for them right away. Have them write out 10 names that they want. Have them pull out their cell phone and look at their contact. Have them do it. And all these different ways to ask for referrals. That is completely bogus. I agreed with him. That is completely bogus. Because here's the thing. As soon as you give that elevator speech to your client to give to their friend, neighbor, or relative. And if it's something like, I'm a great wealth manager and I use the blankety-blank platform that helps me do better, and they go to their neighbor and say, yeah, you could use my guy because he's a really good wealth manager and he really takes good. What do you think the neighbor says? Oh, my guy does too. You should talk to him. So guess when he will ever, 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 ever again refer out to you? Never. They do not like rejection. We don't like rejection, and we're in the business of rejection. Your clients are not in the business of rejection, so as soon as they get a rejection, they'll never do it again. So never. So I totally agreed with them. So I helped him come up with a 5Q USP, and he called me back not even like 3 days later. Says, Mike, I had to tell you, I used this with 2 different people in one day, and both of them said, how do you do that? He says, 20 years I've been told how to do USPs but convinced that they suck and they're a waste of time. And he says, now I get it. You're right. When they're done properly, they will work phenomenally. And then, Missy, were we able to free up Patrick's line, or is Patrick going to be able to talk to us?
Yep, I actually just unmuted Patrick's line there. So, Patrick, are you able to speak?
Yes. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Patrick, could you share what happened with your 5Q?
Sure. I took what we did last week with the Social Security, increasing the Social Security with claiming strategies, and I was being introduced to as a new member of my local Rotary here, and the guy that was introducing me asked for my bio, so I just shot him over my bio, and I put in under technical specialties, I put my USP, which was very detailed.
Now, before you do that, you also stated to me that you had a lot of reservations about doing that, right?
Oh, yeah, I was getting to that.
Okay, good, okay.
So he actually read word for word the entire bio, including the 5Q USP, which again was very detailed and a little bit lengthy. And I was kind of sitting there or standing up there being introduced and kind of wishing, I was not wanting it to be like an infomercial for me, because the guy that had been introduced before me was, like a 20-second intro, and mine was maybe 5 to 7 minutes. Every award I've won, every, the detailed 5Q, everything. And so I was kind of reverting back to feeling a little bit uncomfortable in wishing that I still had an invisible generic USP. But we got through it, and then afterwards, 3 people came up and said specifically that they wanted to set up meetings with me. So I guess it worked out.
Well, and the one thing I'll say, the one thing that really caught me, and Jeff, you can hop in here, or Missy, you can hop in here. In the 10 years I've been coaching guys, Patrick, I hear that over and over and over. Some of the things I ask you to do make you feel uncomfortable. It gets you out of your comfort zone, and you're like, I don't know if I want to do that. I mean, it's putting me out there a little bit. It's not to, and I won't say that what you did wasn't professional, because a bio, you need to have a bio if you're professional, and I think you need to have a 5Q USP to be professional. But sometimes, like with our newsletters, are a little bit more church bulletinish, which is done on purpose. A lot of things we do are a little bit off from what other people do. And well, Patrick, why do you think what we do is always a little bit off of what all of our competition does? Why do you think we do that on purpose?
For differentiation?
Yes, to make ourselves unique. Exactly. So thank you very much, Patrick, for sharing that. I appreciate that. So congratulations on you bet, stepping a little bit out of the comfort box, and it pays off. So Jeff, I mean, how many times have we heard people say, well, that's that's not really. I'm not comfortable doing that. It's not the way that I've always done it. I don't think that that's really professional, and about all sorts of things that we've done.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that we do are very counterintuitive, and they're not the way that people typically have done things in the past. But, when they try them, they work.
And guys, please send those. Thank you, Patrick, for sharing that, because, guys, that's what gives everybody else that's been sitting on the fence courage to do those kind of things. So please, if you have not adopted your 5Q yet, get a 5Q and get it out there and working. So just wanted to get that in. So with that said, hopefully you've all been able to download your Setting the Tone meeting, and I want to go ahead and get started with that. So today, Jeff and I are going to actually be doing the back and forth, because We've been doing this dog and pony show for a decade, so it'll go a little bit smoother, and I want to get a lot of information in today. So please, if you've got the Setting the Tone, print it out, get it in front of you, because we're going to read it word for word, and you're going to see why every single word is crafted in this. And I also want you to understand, more importantly, why we're saying each and every word. So the reason I call the Setting the Tone the Iron Fist and the Velvet Glove, and that will become apparent here in a second. So Missy, can everybody see this? Everybody see the screen?
Sure can. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay. So let me get over here. So the question I always ask people is this, is that if you've ever done a birthday party for a bunch of 5-year-olds and you lose control of that party, when will you ever get control back? Never. If you lose control of, and in 10 years of asking this question, every single advisor I've ever asked that to agrees that if you lose control of a birthday party with a bunch of 5-year-olds, you'll never get that control back. And it's the same thing with our meetings with our clients. If we lose control of a meeting with our clients, we will never get control back. Or if we do, we're going to have to fight to get that back. And Jeff, if we have to fight to get control back of that meeting, what's going to happen? We'll get control back, won't we?
Resist. They're going to be. They're not going to be happy. They're going to fight you for control, and that never bodes well for a meeting.
No, so we'll get it back, right? Grudgingly.
Right.
Yeah, and then the meeting sunk anyway. So we never want to lose control of the meeting. Now, what do I mean by lose control? Well, at the agreement meeting, what I mean by lose control is that if any of you, again, will go back to a 5-year-old. Oh, Jeff, you've got a 2-year-old, and I'll ask you this question: can a 2-year-old control a conversation?
Oh, absolutely.
And how do they control that conversation?
He's constantly asking questions, always asking why.
And when he's asking those questions, who's in control of that conversation?
Yeah, he is.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with our clients. If they start asking questions, we're sunk. They now have control of the meeting. So that's what I mean about control. So first of all, why do people come to see us at that first meeting? So, Jeff, they come to see us to move all their money, right?
No, absolutely not. Usually they come wanting information. They come wanting to ask questions. They heard something or saw something in your marketing that kind of piqued their interest, and so that's exactly what they want to know right out of the gate.
Oh, but I'm going to jump in there. Is there any type of marketing out there that will have them come into your office as fantastic prospects that are ready to move their money?
No. None.
Is there any seminar or a postcard, a lead generation card, or concierge marketing, or radio ad, or whatever that will have the client come in ready to move their money when they come to see us?
No.
And what do you tell people? Because you talk to dozens and dozens of guys every single week, and how many guys, when they first talk to us, think that there's marketing out there like that?
Oh, everybody thinks that there's marketing out there like that. But when you think about it, if that really existed, it wouldn't be a secret. You wouldn't have been searching for it all these years. It'd already be out there. And the people that would most latch onto it would be the mutual fund companies and the insurance providers. Because if they had that, they wouldn't need you.
Yeah.
They just attach an email link or an 800 number for people to call in and move their money to their products. But it doesn't exist.
It does not exist. So everybody who comes to see us, you have to understand, is a marginal, at best, prospect. It's our job. We get paid the big bucks to turn them from marginal or even crappy prospect into a client. That's why we get paid. So a lot of you don't realize this, but you need to step into your client's shoes. And what I mean by that, first of all, is that when they arrive at your office and they're parked in their car in the parking lot, they turn to each other and they have a conversation. And it's probably the same conversation that you all have had with your spouse if you've ever been to a timeshare meeting. You've probably turned to your spouse. And, Jeff, what have you said to your spouse right before that timeshare meeting?
Let's go in. Let's hear what they have to say. Let's get the free gift. But under no circumstances are we buying a timeshare today. So let's just agree we're not doing anything today.
And do our clients have the same conversation before they come to see us?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because
they're there thinking, you know what, let's just see what he has to say. Let's get the ideas, but under no circumstances are we agreeing to move any money today.
So we have to understand that because they're only coming for two reasons. Number one is to get their questions answered, and number two is to get a pat on the back. Those are the only two reasons they're coming to see us. Would you qualify, Jeff, anybody that if they're just coming to see us to get their questions answered, you get a pat on the back, are those fantastic prospects?
They can be. They're not at that point, but they can be.
That's right. So but whose job is it to make them into a fantastic prospect?
It's our job to do that. And the better you are at that, the more money you'll make.
Exactly. So see, here's the problem. The fact that they're coming to see us to get their questions answered and to get a pat on the back is a catch-22. What I mean by that is this. If I answer their questions 9 times out of 10, what are they going to do with that information? What would they do with that information?
Take it back to their current advisor.
Because there's a saying that what? Possession is what?
9/10 of the law.
Right. Yep. So if their current advisor has the money, there's a 9 out of 10 chance they're going to just take those questions, get answers, take it back to their guy, and when they go back to their guy, Jeff, and say, "Hey, can you do this?" What's he going to say?
He's going to say, "Yeah, absolutely, we can do that."
Yeah, and are they going to want to go back to you, or are they going to just do it with their current guy? Guys, when they want a problem fixed, do they want it fixed in the most difficult manner possible, or do they want it done in the easiest way possible? And Jeff, what's the easiest way to get something fixed? To move all their accounts to me, to get to know me better, to get to know how I do business, to worry about how the money's being transferred, to worry about the taxes, to worry about any surrender charges? Is that the easiest way to get these things fixed?
No, the easiest thing to do is just go back to the guy that you have a relationship with and you've been working with all along.
And just let him do it. And the other thing is a pat on the back. Well, let's go back to questions, though. If we don't answer the questions, though, what happens?
Well, then we get into this kind of push me, pull you, where you're saying, I'm not going to answer your questions until I figure out if I'm going to work with you. And they say, well, I'm not going to work with you until you answer my questions. And
that's a death
no-win
spiral.
situation.
Yeah, it's a death spiral. And then patting on the back, if you pat them on the back, are they going to work with you? If you just say, oh, you did everything so great, are they going to work with you then?
No, they don't see any reason to work with you.
And if you say, oh, you're all screwed up, I mean, everything here is so problematic, and boy, you're paying too much in taxes and too much in fees, are they going to work with you?
No, generally not. I mean, the problem with that is they know when they go into the meeting that you're probably going to tell them something like that. They already expect you to say that because they know you have a vested interest in getting them to say that they need to make changes. So they figure you're just making a mountain out of a molehill. And, the reality is if we really had these problems, we wouldn't need you to tell us. We'd already be experiencing them if they were the kind of problems that you say they are.
So you got to climb into their shoes, guys. You got to think like a client instead of like yourself. We view the world totally differently than the prospects we're seeing. So we need to avoid that catch-22. So here we talked about it. If we answer their questions, what are they going to do with it? They're going to sneak back to their current guy and do it with him, right? That's the easiest thing to do. But the problem is if we do not answer their questions, then guess what? I forget what survey, and I don't know if you remember, Jeff, but there was a survey that was done, or a psychological study that was done, that guess what, guys, what the number one characteristic was to determine whether somebody was a fraud? Want to take a wild guess at what that is, guys? Do we can type type their answers in there? Well, it's this: avoiding questions. Avoiding questions. If you avoid questions or don't answer questions, that's the number one characteristic of fraud. So we got two problems here. The catch-22 is if we answer the questions, they go back to their guy with all those answers, and he makes all the money. And guys, does it help your client, or Jeff, does it help the client if they go back to the same guy who wasn't doing the job in the first place? So does that help the client if they take our answer? No, it doesn't, does it?
No.
And does it help?
They might get that problem fixed, but they're not really the problems. They're not getting things permanently fixed. They're getting things temporarily fixed. But the fact that he missed things or didn't fix them in the first place means that they're probably going to have problems down the road that they're not going to discover right away either.
So answering their questions does not help them. It certainly doesn't help us. The only person it helps is our competition. So you can't answer their questions. But you can't not answer their questions, because if you don't, then you look like a fraud and the meeting's over as well. So the setting the tone is about making sure that they can't ask questions without letting them know that they can't ask questions. See, that's what the setting tone is about. Taking control of the meeting is not letting them ask questions without letting them know they can't ask questions. Because if they know they can't ask questions, that's as bad as answering the questions because the meeting's over as well. So as you remember, we talked here a couple of weeks ago about the clock of the agreement meeting. We have the greeting, then we have the setting the tone. So we have about 7 minutes of setting the tone, and then we have all the other portions. But I tell you what, if you do the setting the tone appropriately, if you do this part right here appropriately, guess how well, Jeff, does the rest of this go?
Oh, it goes great.
If you screw this up, what's going to happen?
Well,
your fact find will be good, right?
Fighting them the whole time.
Yep. So your fact find will be great, but all this others will be screwed up. Because if you don't take control of the meeting, again, without them knowing you're taking control of the meeting, you've got problems. So the parts of the setting the tone are, first of all, beat the seat, deal with questions, deal with costs, and get them to tell you that you're an expert. So we're going to go through each of those parts. So the reason we call it the velvet iron fist and the velvet glove is because we're going to let them think that they're in control of the meeting. The way we conduct ourselves lets them think that they're in control of the meeting. You're going to see how we do it. But in actuality, they're not in control of the meeting. We're in control of the meeting if you do it correctly. And how we let them think that they're in control of the meeting is we show courtesy. And you'll see how many times we show courtesy throughout the whole setting the tone. In that 7 minutes. We show courtesy about 4 or 5 times, in that 7 minutes. And then we're going to, and by doing that, it lets them feel like, oh, they're going to be in control, that nothing's going to happen without their say-so, that they're the boss, and that's what we want them to feel. Because if somebody feels that they're in control, how much more cooperative are they going to be, Jeff?
Oh, they're going to be a lot more cooperative.
But if they feel like you're trying to lord over them and you're trying to take control, what are they going to do?
Well, then they're going to fight you and try and resist you at every turn.
Yep. So that's why we spend a lot of this setting the tone script has been crafted extremely diligently to you'll see just almost to the syllable on what we do here to make sure that they feel like they're in control, but in fact they're giving us control. So the first thing that part of the setting the tone is beat the seat. And the reason I call it beat the seat is because you have to do this before their butt hits the seat. So let's pretend that Jeff's my client. And we're going to have to imagine this. We're going to have to imagine this. So because you can't see what he's doing. But let's assume that he's just coming in, and then we finished some pleasantries, and we're both sitting down. And now, Jeff, your butt hits the seat. What are you going to do?
I'm probably going to start talking and say something like, you know, Mike, I really appreciate that seminar that we attended last week. It was really informative. We've been to a few of these things, and yours by far was the best. And when you talked about that Social Security thing, we were really, really interested in that. Can you kind of tell us how that works or what that is?
See, guys, there's, whether you know this or not, there's actually a little button on the chair, and as soon as their butt hits it, it allows them to talk. So guess what we do as they're sitting down, but before their butt hits that seat? I take control of the conversation. How do I take control of the conversation? Because I'll say, hey, Jeff, would it be okay with you if I gave you an idea of what generally happens in the next 60 minutes or so at these meetings?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So, guys, what did I do? Did I show courtesy there? So was I showing you courtesy, Jeff? Oh, I think
yeah, absolutely.
So did I lower your nerves? Because what are you worried about at that meeting as you come in?
You know, they're a little bit uncomfortable. They're in your office. They don't know what's going to happen. They're kind of a little bit on guard. They're not sure. They don't like being, they don't like not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah, they're afraid that you're going to try to sell them? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They expect that.
So what we're doing here with this one little question is we're lowering their nerves because we're saying, hey, can I share with you what happens in the next hour or so? And they're like, oh, good, because that would help me, because I don't know if you're going to try to sell me. I don't know if you're going to ask for a bunch of personal information. I don't know what you're going to do. So it helps lower that. Because, Jeff, how high is their level of resistance when they come in to see us?
Oh, it's high. It's
high. So
the highest that it's ever going to be.
Yes. So what we have to do is lower that. So here we're lowering it. So we're saying, hey, we're going to let you know what happens the next hour or so. And they're going, oh, good, because I wanted to know that. So it lowers their nerves. Also, we're showing courtesy. We're saying, Jeff, you know what? Nothing's going to happen here today without your permission. See, I've already told them right here. Nothing's going to happen today without getting your permission because I've already said, would you like me to show you what happens, what happens in the next hour or so? And guess what I did there? Most importantly, I did what? I asked the question, as Jeff pointed out earlier with his 2-year-old, he who asked the question is in what? Control. Okay? So we've asked the question before their butt even hit the seat. So again, it sounds like we're being courteous to them, and it sounds like we're trying to help lower their nervousness by letting them know what's going to happen. But in actuality, we're taking control of the meeting by asking the first question. So would it be okay if I share with you what happens in the next hour or so? And they always say, sure. in 10 years, they always say, sure. Never heard anything but that. But now, what was the number one reason we said that people come to see us? To get their questions answered. Now, let's talk about that. I've talked to a lot of guys, and Jeff, you can validate this, and they'll say, well, I have no problem with questions. I mean, questions come up all the time, and I deal with them very professionally, and I handle them, and it's everything. It's great. And here's how they handle them. They say something like, somebody will say, so Jeff asked me about Social Security. How do you do that Social Security plan? I say, well, Jeff, that's a fantastic question, Jeff. If we could, though, I'd like to keep questions a little bit general until I know more about your specific situation, because once I know more about your specific situation, I can tell you exactly how that Social Security planning would work with the exact figures and things like that. But until we know more about your situation, we're going to have to keep these questions kind of general. Would that be okay with you, Jeff?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so Jeff's going to say that's fine, and he's going to smile, and he's going to nod his head. So guess what I think as an advisor? Nailed it! Man, that was so professional. I handled that question like a true professional. Smooth as silk. Jeff, how'd you feel when I did that?
I'm kind of wondering, what is he trying to hide, or what's going on that he can't just answer the question?
And I've had guy after guy after guy say, I don't agree with you, Mike, because they smiled and they nodded, and I handled it. So I disagree with you, Mike. And I say, okay, let's put you in the hot seat. So, Jeff, you want to buy me, and guys, I want you all to pretend that I'm talking to you. So, Jeff, you want to buy a used car from me.
Okay.
And guys, all you guys out there want to buy a used car from me. And you ask me, hey, does this have anti-lock brakes? And I say, well, that's a great question, Jeff. That's a great question. But until I know a little bit more about you and your particular situation and what you're looking for in a car and the specifics, I want to keep the questions a little bit general, because once I know more about you and your exact needs, then we can narrow it in. We can get these questions answered a lot better. But so until then, let's keep these questions a little bit more general. What have you decided about me?
Okay. I'm not going to buy a car from you.
But you jump across the desk and throttle me and say, you a-hole, answer my question. Is that what you do?
No. I mean, you have to remember, they're in your office. They're not sure what's going to happen, so they're going to be nice and they're going to be polite. But they'll make up their mind that this guy has another agenda. It isn't just about helping people and answering their questions. It's got to be about something else. Otherwise, he'd just help me and answer my question.
So
whatever
they smile.
That other thing is that it's about, I don't want any part of it.
Yep, because they smile and they nod, but they make the decision, I'm not working with this guy because I don't trust him. He doesn't answer a straight question. He doesn't answer it. So the guy thinks he's smooth because they nod and they smile, but they've already decided in their head, they've nodded and smiled and say, glad he did that because he just identified himself as something that I don't want to work with, but I'm going to try to get all my questions answered anyways and get out of here and never see this guy again. That's what they're thinking. So after we've said, hey, would it be okay if I share with you, it normally happens in the next hour or so, and they say, sure, the first thing out of our mouth, since we know the first thing that's on their mind is questions, the first thing out of our mouth is something to deal with the questions. So what we're going to do is this. I mean, we must deal with this before they bring it up. So we're going to talk about their questions. We're going to tell them they need to keep them general. We're going to tell them that I'm going to ask them some questions, and that we'll do whatever we can to enhance their current situation. And I'm going to ask if I can take notes. And then we're going to do a change of direction. So here's how we do that. So I'm going to go back up here. So I'm going to talk about their questions, and I'm going to say, so Jeff, let's just role play. I'm going to say, would it be okay with you if I share with you what generally happens in the next hour or so, Jeff?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Sure. Well, first, I'm going to answer any questions you might have from the presentation we had, and of course, those questions are going to have to be a little bit general because I don't know a lot about your particular situation, so I probably couldn't answer any specific questions. So until we know more about your specifics, we'll just have to keep these questions kind of general. Now, a lot of you guys are probably saying, wait, Mike, you just said what you told us not to say. You just said what you told us not to say, and you're exactly right. I just said what I told you not to say, but there's a huge difference here. There's a huge difference here. When did I say it? Did I say it before Jeff asked the question, or did I say it after Jeff asked the question? If you say it before they ask the question, it sounds very reasonable. If you say it after Jeff asks the question, it sounds like I'm dodging. So you have to say it immediately. That's why you ask that question, would it be okay if I share it? They say sure, which allows you to get in there and state this about questions before they ask the question. You say almost the exact same thing, only you say it before they ask the question. And when you do that, it sounds reasonable. But you must do it before they ask the question. Okay? Then, what I'm going to do, I'm going to roll, again, there's no gaps here, because if I stop right there, guess what Jeff's going to do? Ask questions. So I say, first I'm going to answer any questions you might have, but of course they need to be a little bit more, or a little bit general, because until I know about your specific situation, Jeff, we want to keep things general, because I won't know how it would work exactly for you. But once we know that about you, then we can get into the more specifics. So let's keep the questions a little bit general until then. And then with your permission, I'd like to ask you some questions to get a feel for, what your goals are and what it is you're trying to accomplish, and see if we can, anything we talked about at the presentation could enhance what you've already, what you're already doing. So there's an important word there, guys, and that word is enhance. So what most guys at meetings want to do is they want to tell people what they've done wrong. But remember, we said that they're there for two reasons. What are the two reasons again? Get their questions answered. What was the second reason? To get a pat on the back. Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, I'm going to ask you a few questions to see, if anything we covered at the presentation could enhance what you're currently doing. You have to say enhance. Don't say, and we're going to see if, ask you a few questions, Jeff, see if there's any problems with where you're at right now. So what are you thinking when I say that?
I'm thinking I don't have any problems. I don't know why you would think that.
Yeah.
I'm just here to get some questions answered.
At least the clients we want are thinking that. And why are they thinking that?
Because they're doing just fine. They have good income. They have good assets. They don't have a lot of debt. They don't feel like they have any problems.
And if you try to tell them they have problems, guess what they start thinking? Oh, bull crap, I probably have more money than you. So I don't know why you're thinking I'd have some problems. Do I want them thinking that in their head? No. So what I do is I feed what they're looking for, which is to see if we can enhance what you've already been able to accomplish. Now, if you see there, if you've been able to download the script, the next thing it says in bold is, by the way, do you mind if I take notes? Now, I want to show you why we do that. So I'm going to start at the beginning of this portion again. And, Jeff, you do what a client would do if I do it improperly.
Okay.
So this is where pacing comes up, guys. And if you don't do this correctly, you still can end up in a problem. So pacing is how we're going to prevent Jeff from asking questions. So I'm saying, well, first I'm going to answer any questions you might have. Of course, they have to be a little bit general, because I don't know a lot about your particular situation. But so if we can keep these a little bit general until we know more, that would be fantastic. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions, see if we can, any things we covered at the presentation would actually enhance what you're currently doing. And by the way, do you mind if I take notes, Jeff?
No,
I got a mind like a steel sieve, and if I don't write these things down, I'll forget them. So do you mind if I take some notes while we're going through this here?
No, notes are fine.
So now where are we, guys? What do we think? What's the client thinking about right now? Is he thinking about questions? Is he thinking about notes?
No.
Thinking about notes. Now watch me do it incorrectly. Let's say, and I'm just going to start halfway through here. And with your permission, I'd like to see if we can enhance what you've already been able to accomplish.
Well, that's fine. My questions are general anyway. I'm just kind of wondering in general, how does that Social Security planning work?
So I just lost control of the meeting. How did I lose control of the meeting? I lost control of the meeting in 0.5 seconds. Because watch again what I do here. So, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions, Jeff, to see if we can enhance what you've been able to accomplish.
That's fine. It's just
how long?
General anyway.
How long did it take for Jeff to jump in there? About a half a second before he was in with his question. So when I do that, I need to immediately switch out of questions. So what I'm going to do, watch how I slow down first of all, and then I'm going to speed up. So I'm going to say, and Jeff, I'm going to ask you a few questions, to see if any things that we covered at the workshop would enhance what you're currently doing, what your goals are. By the way, do you mind if I take some notes? because I got a mind like a steel sieve, and if I don't write these things down, I'm going to forget them. So would you mind if I did that?
No, that's fine.
How much gap did I leave between the questions and taking notes there? None. Zero. Zippo. Not a half a second, not a quarter second, not a nanosecond. Also, look at how I slowed down before I started talking about notes. So I say, to see if we can enhance what you're currently doing. By the way, do you mind if I take some notes? Because I got a mind like a steel sieve. How much faster am I talking? Because what I'm doing is this. If let's say the president is jogging down the street, right? And he's got the Secret Service guy with him right here, right? And what's that Secret Service guy's job? To stay right on his tail, right? And all of a sudden the president decides to go, woo, goes that way. What's the Secret Service guy going to do when he figures out that the president took a unscripted turn there? You go, whoa, he's got to catch up, right? He's got to zip over there and catch up. And that's how our minds are. If I'm going real slow, and then I take a right turn, and guys, when I'm talking about questions, and then I go to notes, that's a right turn. And so Jeff's going along thinking about questions. Oh, I got this question I want to ask, question I want to ask, question I want to ask. Notes? What? Oh, yeah, notes. Take notes. See, they've forgotten about what? And we've all done this. Have you ever had a telephone call where all of a sudden you think, oh, I gotta ask him something. I want him to finish his thought. And just 15 seconds later, he finishes his thought, and you go, what? Crap. What did I want to? Oh, shoot. I wanted to ask you a question again. I can't remember what I want to ask you. That's how our minds work. When you're taken on an abrupt right turn here, they're going to forget about the questions. And again, everybody? No. 9 times out of 10? Yes. They'll forget about the questions, which means that we've shelved the question problem for now. And if we can get through the setting the tone where they tell us that we're experts, we've shelved that question problem forever. So do you see how I'm preventing that? But at this point, Jeff, do you feel like I'm preventing you from asking questions and that I'm being mean to you and I'm badgering, and I'm hitting you with a rubber club?
No, not at all. You're just asking things that I would expect to be asked.
Yeah, and I'm doing it in a very courteous manner. I said, why did I ask to take notes, guys? Number one is to change direction. That's a real reason. But why are they thinking? What was the reason I told them I decided that I needed to take notes? So I forget things. And the reason I'm telling them this is that if I don't ask them to take notes and I start writing a bunch of notes, what do you think they're wondering? If I start jotting down a gazillion notes, yeah, exactly. What are they thinking I'm writing down, Jeff? Good things or bad things?
Bad things.
I mean, that's just the natural. When people start writing notes, when you're talking to them, don't you guys get worried? I get worried. What are they writing down? Now, as advisors, we do this every single day, so we think writing down things is what, Jeff?
Oh, it's okay. It's commonplace.
Yeah, it's commonplace. I mean, why would they worry about it? Because I do this every single day. Do they do this every single day, guys? No.
No.
So they're worried about it. You have to climb into your clients. So look at, just by saying, can I take notes there, and I'm doing 3 things. I'm showing courtesy. I'm letting them know why I'm writing the notes, and most importantly, I'm changing the direction away from questions. All with that little tiny paragraph there. Does that make sense to everybody? So now I've dealt with the questions, and we've shelved it. Okay? Then we're going to move on to what's the number 2 thing they're worried about. Besides questions, what's the second thing they're worried about? How much is this going to cost? Now, Jeff, of course, we told them there's no obligation, no cost, and it's free. Is that what they think is going to happen?
No. They're worried that there's going to be some cost or some catch.
But we told them that there's no obligation, no cost.
Yeah, but people don't. They know that nothing is free.
Yeah, so they're worried about that. So I need to deal with it. So as soon as he says it's okay to take notes, and I say, well, just what I'm going to go into next is I'm going to let them know that, hey, their time is valuable, but so is my time. So the way that I do that is I say, hey, the other thing I just wanted to remind you of is that today's meeting is a courtesy meeting, Jeff, and there's no cost. It's a gift of my time that I give to people who took the time to come to my presentation. Because I know your time is valuable. There's a lot of other things you could have been doing instead of coming to my presentation. I mean, you could have been golfing, going with your friends, or whatever, playing tennis, whatever. There's a lot of things you could have done, but instead you came to see my presentation. And because of that, I donate an hour of my time to people who took the time out of their schedules to attend the presentation. It's my way of saying thank you. And I feel that donating my time is a way that people that took the time to attend can get more information on things that they heard and make it worth their while. So, again, thanks for attending. So what I did with that whole little paragraph there is I said, hey, First of all, I told them that their time is valuable. Why did I tell them, Jeff, that their time is valuable before I brought up my time?
Well, because they want to feel appreciated. They want to know that you recognize that this is time out of their day.
So if I just say, my time's important, my time's important, my time's important, guess what the client's thinking? So is mine.
Time's important too.
Exactly. So the first thing I do is get off the table. I say, hey, your time is important. I know that. I know your time is important. Thank you so much. And then I say, that's why I donate. You got to say donate. The word donate. You have to say that word because it tells them that, hey, your time is valuable as well. And that's why you donate. Let me get here. An hour of your time. It's not that you're sitting around doing nothing and you would have been playing checkers. No, you're busy too, but you do donate an hour of your time for the people that took the time to go to the presentation. Okay. Now the second thing that we want to deal with. Now, so that's setting this cost thing up, which is the second thing we want to deal with. So the first thing we do, and a lot of guys freak out when I do this, when they see this on the script. But I want to explain why we do it. They say, so Jeff, generally about half the people who come to meet with me, they'll end up working with us in some shape or form, and it might be to update their legal documents. It might be to help with their titling beneficiaries, do some Social Security planning for them, lower their taxes. It could be any number of things, and depending on how we get paid depends on how much we do, what we do, and then also on how those people are comfortable paying us. And we're a full-service planning firm, so we can get paid in any number of ways. But honestly, the other half of people, just like you're sitting here today, Jeff, they don't end up paying us anything at all. I'm able to answer all their questions in this hour, and they're able to go home and actually do all these things themselves, and we don't actually end up working together in any formal way going forward. So at this point, a lot of advisors see this and say, what the hell are you doing, Mike? You just gave them permission to take all my information, go home, and do nothing with it. So, Jeff, why are we doing that?
Well, because at this point they don't have any reason to work with us. So anything that we would charge or any kind of obligation that we would put on them would be unreasonable.
So guys, yeah, exactly. What Jeff is saying is right on target. If anything that we would charge at this point, I don't care if we charge a nickel, it would be too expensive because have we shown them any benefits yet? When do you want to talk price? You want to talk price once they know that no matter what the price is, they need to work with you. That's when you want to talk about price. And right now, we have done nothing for them. They don't know how valuable we are. So I don't want to talk price until when? Till the end of the second meeting when all of a sudden they decide, holy cow, I need this guy like I don't even know how much I need him. Because any price you charge would be too much. So what I do here and how I would avoid having the whole cost problem is I say, listen, depending on what I do, if you listen to this script, I said, depending on what I do, and depending on how much of that I do, and depending on how you want to pay me, that's how I get paid. So if they ask me how I'm paid, guess what I can say? Well, we don't know yet what you want me to do we? We don't know how much time it's going to take for me to do that for you, do we? And we haven't discussed the cost and how you get paid because I get paid in a couple different ways. You haven't told me how you can pay me yet. So guess what I can't tell you right now? How much is this going to...
what it would cost.
So it's my way of preventing the whole cost problem until I want to deal with it. And they can't come back and force me into this. Because I do not want to tell them how much it costs until what? Until I know that they need me. Not want me, but need me. At that point, no matter what I cost, it's worth the price. Do you guys get that? You don't want to talk about how much you cost until you have proven that they need you at any cost. Do you guys ever watch an infomercial on TV? When do they tell you the cost? Right up front? Do they come on and say, hey, PX90 costs you $120. Is that what they say? When do they tell you the price, Jeff, in the PX90 commercials?
Oh, at the very end.
Yeah, why do they do that? Because by the end, what do you...
They want you to want it before they tell you what it costs. They want you to feel like it's something you need or really want before they spring the cost on you.
So what we do is we want to avoid the costing until at that point, until they need us. And that's not until the end of the second meeting. So what we're doing here is the first thing is I say, hey, some people do work with us, and depending on what we do for them, how much of it we do, and how they want to pay us, they pay us. But then we always do it in this order. I always end with, hey, half the people, and then did you notice it said, and then half the people, Jeff, just like you're sitting here today, don't end up working with me in a formal manner in any way. They don't pay us at all. They're able to take the information we give them today, go home, and they don't have a formal relationship with us. Why did I tell Jeff that? Because here's the reason. I want his, again, we've been lowering his resistance level, and until I can lower it completely, I can't have good, honest communication. So I want to lower it even more. So I've said, listen, half the people, just like you're sitting here, Jeff, can have taken this information, gone home, and don't pay me at all. So guess which category Jeff is putting himself in right now? The people that do work with me or the people that don't work with me?
People that don't.
Yep, and I actually reversed this. It should be the people who do is up here, and the people that don't is down here. It has to be in that order. So, boy, I did that completely wrong. Sorry, guys. You talk about the half that do work with you first, then you talk about the half that don't work with you, because you want Jeff to actually think he's not going to work with you. Because when he thinks that, Jeff, when you think that you don't have to work with me, what does that do for your psyche?
Oh, I'm a lot more relaxed. Gives me permission to say no.
And that's what I want. When he knows he has permission to say no, and he knows I'm not going to try to box him into a corner, he's a lot less on guard, which is necessary for the rest of the setting the tone. Okay, so then we're going to get them to tell me that I'm an expert. Now, how do I do that? So I'm going to say, well, now, as we're getting started here, Jeff, would it be okay if I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So this may seem like a little bit of an odd question, but I'm constantly, the reason I ask is I'm constantly talking to the public. I mean, I do a lot of these presentations that you went to. I talk to the press, and I write articles for newspapers and magazines. So I'm constantly talking at the public. But is communication one way, Jeff?
No, it's two-way.
Yeah, real communication is two-way, right? And I find that that's so vital. So that when I'm doing these presentations, I mean, we covered a lot of things. We covered randomness. We covered how Social Security, you can increase your Social Security without costing you anything. We figured out how you could pull more money out of your accounts with less risk. I mean, we covered a lot of different things at that presentation. And but the thing is that I was covering those things. I was talking at you. And depending on what you are looking for, I may be talking about things you're not even interested in. So I'm constantly looking for this two-way communication. I'm trying to get feedback from the people that I see whenever I can. And that's why anytime somebody comes to see me, like one-on-one, like we're right here, Jeff, I try to gather some feedback. 'Cause, now, we did ask, we gave you an evaluation form at the presentation, right?
Right.
And those are important. That's one of the ways we gather feedback. Is that, and I tell you that based on the feedback I get from those evaluation forms, I actually will change the presentation. And I've done that several times in the past, where I'll be talking about something for maybe 6 months, and all of a sudden nobody cares about that thing anymore, but they care about this other thing, and they tell me that on the evaluation sheet. So I do change that. So that kind of feedback is invaluable. So I was hoping you could, if you help me out here and do me a big favor. I mean, again, the evaluation form is one way of you giving me some feedback, but I was wondering if you could do me this huge favor, because it would really help me get a thumb on the pulse of the people who are most important to me, the people that I work with, the people who value my services. And if I don't ask these questions of people like you, I mean, gives me valuable information on this feedback on what interests you, what doesn't interest you, and how I can improve what I do for the people that I work with. So, again, if I could ask you this huge question, I know that really I'm not in a position right now to ask you this kind of favor, but it would mean a lot to me personally. If I asked you a question, would you be willing to give me some feedback? Now, guys, notice,
absolutely.
What kind of build-up did I do to that question? It was a huge build-up, and the reason I do that is on purpose. I'm acting like it's this huge, huge favor, so they're waiting for the hammer to drop. So, Jeff, what kind of favor do you think I'm going to ask at that point?
I think it's going to be a big favor. I think you're going to, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm worried that it's going to be something big, like ask me to move all my accounts, or ask me to promise to work with you, or ask me something big.
So what I'm doing,
not knowing what it is with that big buildup, you're really worried that it's going to be something really hard to do and really big.
So I've got these three things in here: evaluation forms, and then I tell them about the thumb on the pulse. That's why those things are underlined. Evaluation form, thumb on the pulse. It'd mean a lot to me personally. See, I'm setting it up that this is going to be a huge question, this huge favor he's going to do for me. He's going to lend me his Mercedes. That's what I'm going to ask. And then all I say is, if I asked you a question, would you be willing to give me some feedback? So at that point, what's Jeff's thinking?
Gosh, that's a lot less than I thought. Yeah, that's no problem.
So he's saying, yeah, that's sure. Now I want to stop right here, and this is an important tool that we use throughout the 5Q system, is that whenever you need to ask an uncomfortable question, you need to tell them why you're asking this question. Because the question we're going to follow up with this, guys, is this. When I say, are you willing to give me some feedback, he says, yes. The next question I ask is, Jeff, why do you think so many people here in Rochester work with me at Castlelake & Associates? Now, that's a tough question, because if I didn't set it up like this, if I just said, Jeff, if I went back to the question phase and said, so, or the payment phase, so half the people, just like you're sitting here, Jeff, will take this information and be able to go home and do it themselves. But if you wouldn't mind, I've got kind of what might seem like kind of an odd question that I'd like to ask you.
Okay.
Why do you think so many people here work with us in Rochester, work with us at Castlelake & Clark? Guess what his knee-jerk reaction is going to be if I pop that at him right then? Because, Jeff, what are you thinking? First thing, guys, when you're asked a question like that out of the blue, the first thing human nature is to say, why is he asking that question? So if I asked you that question, Jeff, as a client, what would go through your head, and the reason I would ask you the question is, why do you think so many people here in Rochester work with me at Castlelake & Clark?
Well, you want me to tell you that a lot of people work with you.
And why would I want you to tell me that?
Because then it would kind of obligate me to work with you. It'd make me feel like I have to work with you since everybody else does.
Do you really want to do that?
No, not at this point, no.
So what would you say if I did that, just popped it like that on you? So why do you think so many people work with us here at Castlelake & Clark?
I'm not sure.
And they might even say what? I don't know they did.
I don't know that anybody does work with you.
Exactly. So is that the kind of attitude you want, guys? No. So what you do, I'll give you an example of this. So say Jeff is come into my office, and I'm a doctor. And he's got like flu-like symptoms, and he's got a ringing in his ears, and he says, and I say, well, Jeff, I understand you've got flu-like symptoms and ringing in your ear. Can I ask you a question? Do you have a belly button ring? Do you have a belly button ring? What's Jeff thinking when I pop that out of the blue? He's like, what are you, some sort of pervert? I mean, why are you asking me that? See, because he doesn't know why I'm asking. It doesn't seem related whatsoever to the fact that he's got flu-like symptoms and ringing in his ears. Why is he asking me that? Is he some sort of weirdo? But if I instead say, Jeff, I understand that you've got flu-like symptoms and some ringing in your ears, and this might seem kind of odd, but I was just at a symposium, and this is actually going across the country nationwide now, where we've seen these exact symptoms, flu-like symptoms of ringing in the ears, where when we see that in men your age, quite often they've tied it back to, and that's why I'm going to ask you this question. It seems odd, and we're still trying to figure this out, but it's been tied back to men who have gotten recently pierced in the pierced belly button. So I know this sounds like an odd question, but have you recently pierced your belly button? Now what is Jeff thinking? Is he thinking that I'm a weirdo? No. He's thinking, oh, it's kind of weird that would cause that, but he's not thinking about anything personally about me. He's not wondering why I asked that question. See, here's the thing that you need, we use this over and over in the 5Q system is whenever you need to ask an uncomfortable question, tell them why you're asking it before you ask it. So, this uncomfortable question about why do you think so many people work with us here at Castlelake & Clark, that is, guys, I understand that is an uncomfortable question, but it's necessary. Because you want them to tell you in your own words that everybody in town that's worried about the same thing they're worried about all works with you. Because when they do that, they have handed you control of the meeting. But if I do not tell them why I'm asking that question, they're going to assume I'm asking it to get, as Jeff said, obligate them to work with me. I don't want them thinking that. So instead, I do this whole spiel about I need feedback, and feedback's so important, and two-way communication. And without feedback, I can't provide the kind of services that I want to provide. And feedback helps me change and become a better advisor and give information that people want. And so, we use the evaluation forms for those feedback, but you'd be doing me a huge favor, and it'd help me keep my thumb on the pulse. And again, I'm rushing through this because we're running out of time here, but see how I'm setting it up, that why am I asking this question? Is there any doubt in Jeff's mind by the time I'm done that the reason I'm asking this question is one thing and one thing only? And it's not to pump me up. It's because I need feedback, and because feedback's so important. That's why. So I've told him already why I'm asking that question before I ask it. So when I say, hey, why do you think so many people work with us? He says, oh. He just tells me what he, you know. Go ahead.
You seem like you know a lot about planning for retirement income and getting the most out of Social Security, so I'm sure a lot of people come to you because of that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. When I say, hey, would you be willing to give me some feedback, what will helpful people do, just like Jeff did right there? So tell me. And what will unhelpful people do when I say, will you give me some feedback? Do unhelpful people love to give us feedback? Yes. So when I get to this point, say, I need feedback, need feedback, need feedback, hey, would you be willing to give me some feedback? Everybody says yes. And now they've obligated themselves that when I ask them that question, they're obligated to tell me the answer, which Jeff just did. Why do you think so many people work with us here at Kalsnick and Clark? See, if you've done it smoothly, and that means that you have to give them, prevent the deer in the headlight syndrome. And what I mean by that is, remember when I went through and I said, well, Jeff, I got kind of an odd question here. And we covered a lot of things at the presentation. And see, that's where I'm saying I'm giving Jeff some things at the top of his head. Social Security planning, how to increase your income, randomness planning, all those kind of things. I feed them there so he's got some answer floating around on the top of his brain. So when I ask this question, he's not searching around for a question. There's one already floating in his brain that he can give me. So I give him some ideas on why why all the people work with us prior to this. And it's in the script there, guys. You see in the script where I say, hey, we covered a lot of things at the presentation. We covered tax savings, Social Security planning, randomness planning, how to increase your income on your investments without your risk. I give them those things early on, and then I go into the reason I need to ask this feedback, and then I ask them the question. So when I say feed the deer there, it's giving them ideas on why or what they can say when I ask that question. Then I make it completely clear why I'm asking the question, which is what? Feedback. 3 times I did it. One was for with the evaluation forms example. The next was the thumb on the pulse, and the next was, hey, would you do me a huge personal favor? And did you hear how I was stumbling? First of all, guys, I am stumbling on purpose. I'm sounding embarrassed on purpose. I'm building this favor up into a huge, huge, huge favor, so that when I finally ask, if I ask you a question, would you be willing to give me some feedback? They look like, really? That's all you want? No problem. Yeah, sure. And by having that attitude, when you finally ask them the question, they try to give you the answer. They're not going to try to avoid you. They're going to try to give you the answer. Because how much of, we all know this, how much of communication is verbal? Depending on what study you look at, it's around 30%. 70% is nonverbal. So that embarrassed mentality of stumbling over myself and apologizing for having to ask this big favor, etc., that's on purpose because they're communicating, hey, this is a huge favor. So when I finally ask it, they're like, oh, really, that's all? Yeah, I'll give you some feedback. Now, when Jeff says, so Jeff, would you be willing to give me some feedback? Why do you think so many people work with us here at Kalsnick and Clark?
Well, you know, like you said, you do a lot of income planning and help people get the most out of Social Security. So I'm sure that's why a lot of people come and work with you.
So whatever he says, I don't care what he says, I agree. Say, well, that's great, Jeff. That is the exact reason that we have so many clients come to us here in Rochester, because that's the exact reason they give us. It's great to know that my message is on target, because that's the exact reason that we have so many people that we're known throughout Rochester as the firm that is expert in that particular thing. So all I'm doing at that point is saying, hey, Jeff, let's all acknowledge you just said in your own words that everybody in Rochester that's worried about that all work with me. So I get on the bandwagon to make sure that he understands that, yeah, you just said that. You said everybody here in Rochester works with me because of all these reasons. So I make a major emphasis that, yes, that's exactly why people work with us. That's why everybody works with us. Those are the exact reasons everybody tells us and why so many people look at us as I'm just emphasizing that he just told me that I'm expert. He's just handed control of this meeting to me on a silver platter. Now, that's 9 times out of 10 you're going to get that. You're going to get a couple, and we're going to go just 2 minutes over here. You're going to get some people that will, again, 1 out of 10 will fight you on this, and they'll say, I don't know. Or they'll say, well, I'm not sure why everybody, I'm not sure if other people come to you, but here's the reason I'm here. Did they give me what they want? If they say, I'm not sure, but here's the reason I'm here, did they give me what I want? No, I want them to say what? Everybody in town that's worried about what they're worried about, all work with me. I want them to say that in their own words. And you'll catch some of these wafflers are pretty smart because they don't want to say that, because if they say it, they've just given you control of the meeting. They don't want to do that. So they'll say, you're not going to get a lot of I don't know unless you do this incorrectly. If you do it incorrectly, you get some I don't knows, and then you need to send us the tape, and we'll help you fix that immediately. But you will get some smart guys, again, 1 out of 10, not 9 out of 10. If you do this properly, 9 out of 10 are going to just tell you what it is. But if you listen carefully, if you get these wafflers, this 1 out of 9, and say, I'm not sure, but here's the reason I'm here, what you have to do is acknowledge that, hey, this is something I didn't want to hear. He didn't say what I wanted, which is everybody in Rochester works with me. He didn't say that. So what I'm going to do with any time something I don't hear, I handle as an objection. So the first thing that I do is, with an objection, is I acknowledge it. Say, absolutely. Absolutely. And they pair it back in the form of a question. Absolutely. I mean, how would you know? That does make sense that you'd be here, because, lowering your, or getting more money back from Social Security, that makes total sense. That makes total sense on why you're here. And so I paired it back in the form of a question. And then I'm going to get on their side and tell them how smart they are for coming to see me about Social Security planning or whatever they're talking about. But then I'm going to circle right back and say, I'm going to ask them the same question again, because I'm not moving this meeting forward. I will not move this meeting forward till they tell me that everybody in Rochester, worried about what they're worried about, all work with me. So after I've acknowledged them, paired it back in the form of a question, got on their side, told them how smart they were for coming in to see me about that thing, I'm going to go right back and ask them the same question again. Say, so I can understand you're not knowing why so many people here in Rochester work with me, Jeff, but if you did know, what do you think the reason would be? So I put them on the spot. I've said, hey, yeah, no, I understand why you, absolutely. I understand why you're here, coming here for Social Security. That makes total sense, because, boy, if you get free money from the government, who'd want to pass that up? So the fact that you're here for Social Security plan, that's a very smart thing to be in for, and we're going to be able to help you with that, and I think you'll be quite pleased with that. And so I totally understand why you're here. But as we were talking about earlier, I can understand why you might not know why everybody else comes to see me, though, here in Rochester. But if you did know, what do you think the reason would be? I'm going to circle right back to that and make them tell me. Because I'm not moving forward. And Jeff, why do we not move forward on this meeting until they tell us this?
Well, they have to acknowledge that you're the expert. Because if you're not the expert, they're not going to find any reason to listen to you or value your opinion or value your time or see you as anything other than someone they can just pick their brain and leave.
So again, 9 times out of 10, this is going to work. That 1 times out of 10, you're going to circle back and ask them again, and you're going to get another half of them, but half of them are going to not move forward. If they're still fighting me at that point, guess what I do? What do you think I do at that point, guys? What have they just told me? Yeah, get rid of them. Exactly, Jeff. Get rid of them, because what have they told me, Jeff?
They're going to fight you on everything, and they're not going to work with you.
So what's the value of
information and nothing else?
But why would I be wasting a possible client like that, Jeff, and kicking them out?
Well, they're not a client. They're not going to agree to work with you. And think about it, guys. If they're going to fight you here on something like this, wait till you get to the back half of the meeting where you're asking tougher questions. This fighting, this disagreeing, this not wanting to go places, it never ends. If at the beginning of a relationship it's hard, it never gets easier.
So remember, we said at this meeting, 50% get kicked out. And again, of that 50%, this is a very small portion. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen, and they have to be kicked out. We're only trying to get 50% of the people to go through the process because we know we have a 90% chance of closing them. So if they fight you at all here, as Jeff said, it's only going to get worse. Get them out. Now, how often should this happen? Rarely. If you're having people fight you more than once a month, you need to send Jeff and me some tapes so we can listen to it, because you're doing something wrong. So, Jeff, we've been doing this for 10 years. Does this work? Because guys are scared when they first come on to do this. But when they do it right, does it work, Jeff?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Should they be worried about the client saying, well, I don't know why?
No, that doesn't happen. I mean, if you do it right, if you ask them, would you be willing to give, if I asked you a question, would you be willing to give me feedback? When they say, yeah, I'd be willing to give you feedback, I'd be willing to answer that question, it's rare for them not to answer the question. They've obligated themselves to answering it.
So the only time it does not work, and again, unless it's a rarity, but if it's happening on a regular basis, I guarantee you, you're doing something incorrect in this script. You're doing something incorrect in the script. So do you get now the importance of setting the tone, guys? And I know that we had to go through it, but you see, in 1 hour, we spent 1 hour talking about a 10-minute script. And could you see how I could teach this for a full day? And we've done that before. That's the importance of the setting the tone. But look at, you've taken control of the meeting. You've handled the question problem. You've handled the cost problem. And you've got them to tell you an expert, all in the first 10 minutes of the meeting. And I will tell you that if you do this, you're doing more than the average advisor does in a 4-meeting process. You're doing more in 10 minutes than the average guy does in this business in 4 hours. Most advisors never even get to this point. And you've done it in 10 minutes when you do it properly. This is an extremely important script. Please get it down. And if the client at the end of this does not cooperating with you, you need to send us the tapes and let us help you walk through and get that fixed, okay? So guys, yes.
I had a question come in, and it's a great question. So Jim's asking if they don't answer and you want to end the appointment, how do you end it tactfully?
If they're fighting, again, first of all, you're going to see that it's not tactful on their part. Because when I ask for that, and that's a great question, Jim, when I ask for that and they won't give it to me, they get a little pushy. And when they get pushy, I just simply do this. I say, well, Jeff, did I do something that to make you angry with me?
No.
Because it seems like, when I say black, you're saying white, and when I'm saying left, you're saying right, and it seems like there's something that I've done to offend you. Have I done something to offend you?
No, it's just that, I just don't know whether or not people work with you or not.
No, and I could, and I would simply try one last time and say, so, no, I understand why you wouldn't, so I'm going to pare it back. So I absolutely understand why you wouldn't understand that. Because, you don't know me from Adam. You don't know everybody in the whole city, do you?
No.
It'd be great. You don't have some sort of crystal ball. You can read my mind and read everybody in the city, and you don't have access to all of my filing cabinets to be able to look through and see how many people have come in and why they come in. So I totally understand. So I'm getting on his side. And then say, well, but Jeff, if you did know, if you take a wild guess on why everybody here in Rochester works with me that's worried about Social Security planning, or everybody here in Rochester works with me, why do you guess that would be? And if he still fights me on this,
well, yeah, the thing is, I don't know. That's not important to me. The only thing that's important to me is, how to get this stuff done.
So
I don't understand why I need to answer anything like that.
Yes, that's exactly what Jeff did. Is exactly what they do. So now they've got an argumentative. So then all I do is this, because that's a great question. What I do is just to say, well, Jeff, here's the thing. I totally get where you're coming from. I cannot give out that. I cannot work with people unless I have extremely good communication process with them. Because, health, money, family, those are really important things. And if you ever need help with those things, the professional you work with, you better have extremely good communication back and forth with, the great two-way communication as we talked about earlier. And at this point, it seems, and I'll actually make a motion with my hands and have my hands coming together, and then they veer apart. It seems like when we're talking, Jeff, we're kind of doing this when we talk. We're not connecting. It's neither your fault. I hope it's not my fault. Maybe it is, but it's certainly not your fault. But it seems like our communication is not meshing. We're not firing on all cylinders, and you really can't go forward with anybody when you're talking about family, money, or health unless you have that great communication. So at this point, I just don't see us communicating very well. And again, it's probably nobody's fault. It's just that happens sometimes. So appreciate you coming in, and I stand up. And when I stand up, what have I just communicated to them?
It's over.
And it's over. And it's funny. I've done, probably twice or 3 times a year I would have to do that. And it's funny because I'm happy and I'm smiling when I'm doing this. I'm not getting angry. I'm happy and smiling, just saying, hey, it's nobody's fault. These things happen, and I appreciate you coming in, and sorry it didn't work out. And I usher them to the door. They don't even know. They get out to the parking lot, and then they just think, did I just get kicked out of there? They don't even realize they're kicked out until they're out. So you smile and you just talk about the fact that, hey, when it comes to money, family, and health, communication better be firing on all cylinders, and we're not communicating very well right now. So, you're going to have to find somebody else. Did that answer? Can you see, Missy, if that answered the question for the person who asked that?
I do believe that it did.
Okay, that's a good question. And again, if you do this right, that's going to be a rarity. Like I said, 2 or 3 times a year for me. Not very often, but it does happen, so you've got to be ready for it. Any other questions come in, Missy?
Nope, that's everything I had.
Guys, please, we're going to put this up on the website by the agreement meeting and setting the tone here sometime later this week, hopefully. So go back, revisit this options you want. This is one of the two 10-minute scripts. This is one of them that you need to have nailed so you get them to tell you that everybody in your town works with you, because when you do that, the rest of the whole process, the rest of the agreement meeting, the rest of the disclosure meeting, and the solution meeting go perfectly well. This sets it up. And with most things in life, you'll find that the preparation is 90% of the success, and this is the preparation for the whole meeting process. Okay, every guy I know that's done well, and Jeff, you can validate this, every guy that I know that's made over $500,000 using the system, how well did they do this agreement meeting?
Oh, they do it great. I mean, they're spot on with this.
Because if you're not, you're going to have the exact same success as you're having right now. So any other questions, Missy?
Nope, that's everything.
Super. Thanks, guys. Hopefully you found this worthwhile. This is an extremely important call, so feel free to go back, and we will spend more. You'll see us revisiting this on a regular basis because it's a very important script. Hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks.